There is a plant growing in the cracks of your driveway right now that contains 15 times more calcium than spinach, 8 times more vitamin C than oranges, and more protein per ounce than beef. For 8,500 years, it sustained entire civilizations from the Great Lakes to the Mediterranean. People did not just gather it, they bred it like wheat. They selected seeds generation after generation, stored them in clay jars for winter, and ground them into flour that lasted through famines. Then, we made it illegal. We created a $74 billion industry dedicated to poisoning it out of existence. We convinced millions of people that this plant, which offers more nutrition than almost anything in the grocery store, is their enemy. We erased its name so completely that most Americans under 40 have never heard it, even though they have been looking at it their entire lives. This is the story of the most nutritious weed in America, and the system that cannot afford to let you remember what it is. Welcome to Nature's Lost Vault. The archive opens in 1987, deep in the Ozark Plateaus of eastern Kentucky. Archaeologists were excavating ancient rock shelters sealed for thousands of years. Inside one shelter, they found storage pits, carefully constructed, deliberately placed. When they carbon dated the contents, the results came back at 6,500 BC, over 8,000 years old. But what stopped everyone was not the age, it was what was inside. Seeds, thousands of them, carbonized and preserved, stored alongside squash and sunflower in a way that could only mean one thing. This was food storage. This was deliberate agriculture. When they analyzed the seeds, they identified them as Chenopodium berlandieri, Native American lamb's quarters. It was fully domesticated by 1700 BC as part of the Eastern Agricultural Complex, a sophisticated system of cultivated crops that supported populations across eastern North America for over 3,000 years, long before maize even arrived from the south. When scientists examined the domesticated seeds under microscopes, they discovered something that revealed just how intentional this cultivation was. The seed coats measured only 20 microns thick. Wild Chenopodium seeds were 60 microns, 3 times thicker. Thin seed coats mean faster germination and quicker growth, which translated to more crops per season. Someone had been selecting these seeds year after year, generation after generation. They were breeding this plant the same way we bred corn from teosinte and wheat from wild grasses. This was agricultural science, happening in North America thousands of years before Columbus. The Ohio River Basin, Kentucky rock shelters, Tennessee caves. Everywhere archaeologists looked, they found Chenopodium seeds stored with other grains, treated with the same care as any staple crop. And then, in 2014, European researchers started finding the same thing. Viking Age sites in Denmark, Roman settlements across Central Europe, Iron Age storage pits in Germany and France. All contained Chenopodium album seeds, the European cousin, stored in clay jars with wheat and barley. Then came the discovery that made headlines: Danish bog bodies. Iron Age people preserved in peat for 2,000 years had Chenopodium seeds in their stomachs. Their last meals. This was not famine food. This was not desperation. This was regular food, eaten by regular people across 8,500 years of human history. The Zuni cooked the young greens. The Iroquois harvested it every summer. In India, they call it bathua, and you can still buy it in markets today, a premium winter vegetable. In China, they call the cousin species hou-ai, and they never stopped cultivating it. The knowledge was global. The cultivation was deliberate. The nutrition was understood long before laboratories could measure it. So how does a plant this important just disappear from American consciousness. By 1150 AD, maize had arrived in eastern North America, spreading north from Mesoamerica. It was calorie-dense, easier to store, and it fit the model that European colonizers would later bring. The eastern agricultural complex collapsed within generations. Lamb's quarters, maygrass, little barley, knotweed, crops that sustained civilizations for 3,000 years, faded into obscurity. The native domesticated variety, carefully bred for 3 millennia, went extinct, gone forever. European settlers brought their own Chenopodium album across the Atlantic. They knew it as fat hen, pigweed, goosefoot. Peasants ate it during famines, fed it to livestock, used it as medicine. But by then, agriculture meant wheat, corn, cash crops. Things you could tax, things you could sell, things you could control. The plant survived anyway, growing in ditches and disturbed soil. It didn't need permission. That was always its strength. Then came 1950, and everything changed. Post-war America, the GI Bill finances millions of new homes, suburbs explode, and with them comes a new ideology. The perfect lawn, grass, uniform and green, with absolutely no weeds. Construction creates disturbed soil everywhere. Perfect conditions for lamb's quarters, which colonizes bare ground faster than almost anything. Suddenly, every suburban yard has it growing, and homeowners panic. Chemical companies saw opportunity. In 1947, the Scott's Company began mass marketing herbicides to American homeowners. The active ingredient was 2,4-D. It was developed during World War II as part of biological warfare research. After the war, chemical companies needed new markets for these weapons, and American lawns became the battlefield. By the 1960s, homeowners associations wrote bylaws prohibiting noxious weeds, listing lamb's quarters by name. You could be fined for allowing food to grow on property you own. Agriculture followed the same pattern. Lamb's quarters competes with soybeans and corn, the most heavily subsidized crops in America. The herbicide industry exploded into a $40 billion global market. Weed control added another $34 billion. We are spending $74 billion annually to destroy plants, with lamb's quarters as target number 1. Meanwhile, the leafy greens market grew into a $95 billion industry. Spinach, kale, lettuce, trucked from California's Central Valley, irrigated with increasingly scarce water, packaged in plastic, shipped thousands of miles. And lamb's quarters, offering the same nutrition, grows free in every crack in the pavement. Let me tell you what is actually in this plant, because the results are stunning. 1 cup of lamb's quarters contains 464 milligrams of calcium. Spinach, the vegetable we are told to eat for strong bones, contains 30. That is 15 times more. Vitamin C, 66 milligrams per cup, compared to spinach at 8.4. More iron, more protein, more B vitamins than spinach or cabbage. 1 cup gives you 741% of your daily vitamin K requirement, the vitamin sold in supplements for $20 a bottle. Michael Pollan, who wrote The Omnivore's Dilemma, called lamb's quarters and purslane 2 of the most nutritious plants in the world. Not vegetables, but plants. Period. The Tohono O'odham cultivated it for thousands of years without laboratories. European peasants knew chickens grew fat on it. People have always known this plant was extraordinary. But here is what you cannot do with it. You cannot patent it. You cannot genetically modify it to depend on specific fertilizers. You cannot control its seeds. Each plant drops 75,000 that remain viable for 40 years. Cut it into pieces and every fragment roots. It heals depleted soil. It grows without water. It tolerates extremes. It asks for nothing. In a food system built on scarcity and control, a plant like that is more dangerous than any pest. Because lamb's quarters threatens everything. The leafy greens industry, the calcium supplement market, the vitamin industries. All of these depend on people believing they need to buy things when a plant in their driveway offers it for free. More than that, it threatens the fundamental logic of modern agriculture. The idea that food must be difficult, that it must require inputs, that it must be controlled by corporations selling seeds every year, fertilizers every season, pesticides to kill everything that grows without permission. Lamb's quarters grows without permission. It heals soil instead of depleting it. It feeds people without asking anything in return. That kind of abundance, free, uncontrollable, available to anyone, cannot exist in a system built on scarcity. So the plant was erased, not with fire or war, but with language. We called it a weed, a pest, a problem. We created an entire vocabulary around its destruction and convinced 3 generations that this plant is their enemy. Most Americans under 40 have seen it their entire lives, but have no name for it. When you erase the name, you erase the knowledge. When you erase the knowledge, you erase the power. But here is what they could not erase: the plant itself. While Americans forgot, the rest of the world kept eating. In India, batwa is sold in every winter market. Not famine food, but premium food. In China, hui is still cultivated. In Mexico, quelites, wild greens including lamb's quarters, never left the diet. Grandmothers still teach children which plants to harvest, how to cook them, when to gather seeds. What happened in America was cultural genocide, but it was incomplete. Immigrant families brought the knowledge with them. Italian grandmothers remembered fat hen. Mexican families knew verdolagas. Indigenous communities never stopped gathering traditional foods. The knowledge survived in fragments. It was passed down in whispers, waiting for the moment when people would need it again. That moment is now. Lettuce requires consistent irrigation. Spinach needs cool temperatures and steady moisture. The crops feeding 8 billion people were bred for stability, for weather patterns that no longer exist. Lamb's quarters was built for chaos. It survives on minimal rainfall. It thrives in heat. It grows in degraded soil where nothing else will. It does not need irrigation or controlled environments. For 70 years, we spent billions poisoning the plant that could save us. Now, as systems fail, the answer has been waiting in every crack, every disturbed patch of soil, every place we told it not to grow. So here is what you do. Learn to recognize it. Diamond-shaped leaves, a powdery white coating, and a goosefoot shape when young. Stop poisoning it. Let it grow, and let it heal your soil while it feeds you. Harvest the top few inches, the tender stems, and the young leaves. Cook them like spinach. The heat breaks down the oxalic acid that is naturally present. Once cooked, eat as much as you want. Save seeds. Each plant produces 75,000 seeds that last 40 years in soil. Share them. Teach your children. Reclaim the name that was taken. The plant that asks for nothing, survives everything, and feeds freely. That is lamb's quarters, the crop they tried to erase, the knowledge they spent billions suppressing, the food they taught you to destroy. This knowledge is not lost. It is buried in every seed, waiting for the hands willing to harvest it. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe to Nature's Lost Vault and hit the bell. Every like and share preserves what they tried to erase. The next vault opens soon.